highlights for the Ripple's pre-primary curriculum. So there is, an acronym that I've created for it, which is known as the CHESSes. So when I say CHESSes, it stands for Child-Centered Experiential Cross-Curricular Inquiry-Based Spiral Learning Highlights for a Child. What does it mean? Inquiry-based, experiential, cross-curricular, child-centered spiral. These are the words which you have to be very, very familiar with if you are teaching a resource from SAR education, and especially if you are a pre-primary teacher. Okay? This is first, I will try to understand what do you understand from this, and therefore I'm sharing a Google form for you, which you will have to click and give me a few answers, and we will come back here. So if I ask you that you can help me understand these little terminologies, these little terms, okay, I send you the link here for a Google form. Please click it and answer a few questions. I've sent you a Google form. Please click. Siksha Mera ma'am, can you do it please while you are traveling? I know it's difficult to understand and do, but if you can please click on the link. Varuna Jain ma'am, Shalini Pandey ma'am, Nidhi Sood ma'am, Shivali Kamra ma'am, Paramjeet Kaur ma'am, if you could please click on the link and let us know your thoughts about what you understand with the terminologies when I say it's child-centered, it's spiral in approach, experiential, cross-curricular, inquiry-based. How many of you have been able to open the Google form? Please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a thumbs up if you've been able to open the Google form. A simple reaction. Thank you, Annie ma'am. Thank you so much. Welcome, Annie ma'am. I did not see your name on the screen, but thank you for giving that response. Thank you, Neetu ma'am. Yeah, I can see you now, Annie ma'am. Thank you. Right. So, बाकी लोगों को नहीं मिला क्या form? Have you not been able to open it? See, this is a simple response, because you have to be in a workshop. You have to understand that it cannot be one-sided. Huh? It just cannot be one-sided, and I need your support to make this successful. So I request for active participation. I request that all of you please share your insights in the Google form. Okay, great. So I hope everyone's done with the entries. Okay, and let's understand one by one what do we mean by this. So when we talk about inquiry-based learning, teachers, this is the way of learning that is primarily student-centered, where students have to explore, investigate, research, study, and pursue topics based on curiosity to increase their understanding of the world. So it is not a teacher-centered learning, wherein the teacher will say, now we have to complete this course, and now your learning is complete. It's on the other side. The child is saying, there are so many questions that I have in my mind, and I want the answers to these questions. And therefore, I will go around, I will talk to people, I will explore, I will find out, I will sort out, I will analyze, I will predict, I will produce results, and then I will present, and then I will go back and understand whether I was right or wrong, right? So this kind of a structure where there is a lot of curiosity, where there are asking of questions, the child is investigating, the child is creating, the child is sharing, and then reflecting on whatever the child has investigated and created is inquiry-based learning. And here we are able to evoke the learning inside the learner. We are able to tell the learner that there is beyond the books. that life is going to teach you, that you have to be learning into the books, or you have to be reading into the books, because they give you answers to your questions. So whenever you have an inquiry based session, it's actually not telling a child that this is your course content. In fact, it is going to tell a child, what do you think about it? What do you have to say? Again, you will have to use a chat box, and there are two pictures on your screen. And I would just like to ask you, which of these do you think is a child-centered learning picture? And we have questions, we'll have answers, we'll have discussions. Please go ahead. Thank you. Everyone saying the second one. Now you have to tell me why. What makes you say that? Nilanjani ma'am, you wanted to say something? Did you? So I can see a group of teachers here with, group of teachers sitting here. So if you could tell me, could you please tell me, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Could you please tell me why the second one is child center? What makes you say that? I can see the teacher here in the first one also saying, really looking at and trying to find out how to make interested his students. Because in second picture, students are getting involved. Did you think the thought process of the students is also involved in the first one? They are thinking. They're really sitting down and thinking about various things. Come on, more answers we would require. What makes you say that the second one is a child-centered learning process? One of the answers that I get is children are involved. Any other thing?
Why can't a learning be more fun? Why can't learning be more fun? Learning
कुछ और दिख रहा है आपको? In first one, learning object is not fulfilled. Beautiful. The teacher is still thinking, what should I do to get them involved, to get them interested, which shows that the children are not interested. They are thinking, but they are thinking not about what is being covered in the classroom. They have a lot of different thought processes. That means they are not in sync with the learning objective. Thank you so much, Nidhi Sood ma'am. Right? So this is what we are trying to understand, that though the teacher has said that she wants to involve everyone, yet at times it happens that it is not a child-centered learning, it's a teacher-centered learning. So when you have a child-centered learning and when you want to ask a few questions or you want to build curiosity, here are some options for you. Just make 5 simple questions. 5 simple questions. You can have a screenshot, you can just put it there for yourself. That's not a problem. Just 5 simple questions. So when you said this is a child-centered one, I asked you, what do you think about this picture? Why do you think that? Give me reasons. Why do you say it's a child-centered one, not a teacher-centered one? The second picture. And then we can go beyond. How do you know this? That if the children are involved, then it becomes a child-centered learning. How can you say that? So you will go further and you will investigate and you will give me answers. And then if I say, can you tell me something more about it? Do you have any more questions? So this activity I would like you to do on a piece of a paper. Please do it for me. These 5 questions on the picture that we have just seen. Question number 1 we did. What do you think? Question number 2 we also did. Why do you think that? Question number 3 you'll have to do now. And question number 4 and question number 5. Please go ahead and write a few words, sentences about this. Someone has raised a hand. Like, please unmute yourself and maybe just change your name, because I can see a number and I don't recognize you by your name. Is anyone ready? Please go on and share. Aruna ma'am, आप share करेंगे? How do you know that the picture was a child-centered thing? Or how do you know that the children were involved and therefore it was a child-centered learning? Do you want me to show the picture again? Shall I go to the picture back? So this is the picture. Teachers, there is so much to cover for me. Even after 6 o'clock, I would not be able to finish the session if we are going to go so slow. There is so much for you. So please be quick, be fast, and there is nothing right, nothing wrong. Just a little chat, just a little message that you can put in. That's what we want from our children. We want them to be fearless, isn't it? So if the teachers will fear, how will the children become fearless? So Lata Datta ma'am, would you like to share your thought?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
In my opinion, they are free to express their views. They are playing with the toys. They are using their colors. They are expressing their intention, what they want to do exactly in the classroom. Right?
So you mean they are involved because you feel they are using various objects?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Would anyone like to add something to this? Tell me something more about this. One factor that I see in this picture is that I can see there is no forceful attitude of the children. It is coming out so naturally.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, Dharanvi, I mean, you're talking about the first picture, they're sitting in a line. There's little forced application that we are seeing in the first one. Yes, of course. Yes. In the second one, we see involvement because we can see that they're very naturally coming up and picking up and taking part in the activities. They're not being forced, like maybe some of you are being forced to be here. Some of you are coming very naturally for the learning process, right? So we can see the difference. But I definitely would like to, take it the other way around, that do so many activities with you that you're so comfortable taking part in the classrooms for the child-centered orientation. Yes, all skills are being used. Yes. Do you have any questions left out? Anything that you want to know more? Anything that makes you wonder? You want to explore about anything about child-centered learning? Huh? Anything about child-centered learning you want to know? Okay, one simple question which I think everyone can say yes or no about it. Do you think you are doing child-centered learning in school every time? Do you think you're doing enough child-centered learning in the school? Thank you for the response. Not every time. Ma'am, all the students are involved in largely sing. Okay. Not every time. So would you like to know more about child-centered orientation and how you can make your classes even better? Right? So I think this should be one question which should be coming very normally from every one of you. Okay. So before I go into the lessons of child-centered orientation, there is something also known as spiral approach. So spiral approach helps minimize gaps in learning. What happens in the child spiral approach session is that there is a new content, you revise the content, and slowly and steadily you keep moving up the content with complexity. So if we look into a pre-primary curriculum, we would do letters A to Z in the PP1. We would do letters A to Z even in the PP2. We would do letters A to Z even in the PP3. But the complexity with which we are dealing with them increases. We do numbers 0 to 9 in the PP1. We also cover the same number 0 to 10 in grade 1 when a child goes beyond 100. Then also we do that once again. So that's the kind of a spiral approach. The chapter of plants is covered in PP1, PP2, PP3, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 also. But the complexity with which that chapter is completed is different, right? So a very beautiful approach towards learning, building in the learning gaps is the spiral approach. And then the highlight is the cross-curricular way of using it. Okay, so when I say cross-curricular, I use an example of something that you've already done. Suppose your mom has told you how to knead the dough for roti. Okay? And you're using the wheat flour. Now you have to use the suji or you have to use the maida. Do you think the brain already has the knowledge, and with the new thing a little tidbits are required and your brain can use the previous knowledge and use that knowledge to build on in a new skill area? Or if I ask you, you learn how to swim in a smaller pond. And when you go to a bigger pond, you don't have to learn swimming again. You just have to use the similar skill in a new preposition, in a new proposition, right? So when you do a cross-curricular approach, that means if I'm talking about numbers in maths, but somehow I use numbers while I'm teaching English also, then the child will have a built-on with whatever numbers and a stronger approach to deal with numbers. So when you do a cross-curricular approach, your brain uses previous connections to build new knowledge and apply knowledge in life. And therefore, cross-curricular is a very important way of doing a pre-primary curriculum. So if we together look at, we have done what all we have covered: the inquiry-based, the spiral, child-centered, and cross-curricular. And now is left is the experiential. Again, a question for you, for which you'll have to put your chat boxes on and have to answer me. Is experiential learning equal to hands-on learning? Always. बच्चों के हाथों से काम करवाना, the hands-on learning, is that experiential learning? Okay. Yes, yes, yes. I have a few answers to my question as yeses. Great, so many yes. So many yes. So many yes. Thank you so much. It is a little myth. Experiential learning means the experiences that I have, maybe by observing people, by analyzing, by discussing, by doing, by teaching, they all come into part of experiential learning, right? So suppose हमें लर्निंग बाय डूइंग को हम हमेशा एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग में नहीं डाल सकते. एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग एक बड़ा सेट है और लर्निंग बाय डूइंग उसमें एक छोटा सबसेट है. So learning by doing is part of experiential learning, but experiential learning is not equal to the learning by doing. आप अगर पढ़ते हैं एनिमल्स के बारे में, तो एक तरीका ये है कि आप बुक में एनिमल्स के बारे में पढ़ें. दूसरा तरीका ये है कि आप उसकी हैंड्स ऑन करें. अब एनिमल्स की हैंड्स ऑन करना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है, राइट? सो व्हाट कैन वी डू? We can go to a visit a zoo and understand about animals. So that also will add on to your experience about knowing animals. So therefore, we can say that experiential learning is not about just hands-on learning. It's beyond. It is much more than that. Okay. So this is covering all the basic USPs of the Ripples curriculum. Now let's understand how children learn and remember. So abhi tak jo humne cover kara, that was the highlight of the curriculum. That in your curriculum, you will find child-centered activities. You will find activities based on experiential learning. You will have spiral activities and course content. You will have cross-curricular activities, right? And content accordingly. And there's going to be a lot of inquiry. So this is how we have created the content of the Ripples pre-primary curriculum. Now, to understand how to conduct this content into a lesson plan, it's important that you understand how children learn and remember. So there are two basic researches which I always refer to, and I feel teachers must grasp it and put it into their heart and soul. One is that children remember when you use visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and tactile modes to give your lessons or teach. Which means वो कोई ना कोई चीज देखेंगे, movement होगा, ऑडिटरी होगा और वो कुछ ना कोई चीज को छुएंगे, टेक्टाइल लर्निंग होगी. अगर ये 4 aspects a teacher can cover well, then most of the children will grasp the module that the teacher is trying to give it to them. The second research is about the Edgar Dale's cone of learning. Edgar Dale's cone of learning says that if you give a knowledge, you transfer knowledge just by a process where the child is listening to you, then after 2 weeks, if you check the knowledge, only 5% will be left with the child. He will only remember 5%. If the knowledge has been transferred by reading, so if I read a text today, then after 2 weeks, I will be only able to remember 10% of it. If I use an audio visual, like I am using a visual here, but after 2 weeks, only 10% of it, or of 20% of it would be left out with you, right? If I demonstrate, I do all the activities and experimentations, then 30% of it will be left out. If you discuss it with me, if you put your thought process, then you will remember 50%, right? If you do things with your hands, that's the hands-on learning, then it is 75%. But 90% of it is left out when you teach someone. So I will remember this Edgar's Dale cone of learning, perfectly with me. I am going to remember it because I have to teach it to you. I have to give this knowledge to you. So I have to prepare well, understand, remember, and then only will I be able to transfer. Now the question is, do you think children in the classroom can teach? Can we use this process of teaching in the classroom so that our children can remember 90%? And if you say yes, please give me a reason or an opportunity which you can think they will be able to do. If you say no, again, please give me a reason. Why do you say so? Because we are all adults, we understand the reasoning. हम ऐसे ही कोई भी चीज yes या no नहीं बोल देते. We have a logic behind, and that logic, please share with us. Why do you think so? Is teaching possible for a pre-primary child in the classroom? Please go ahead and share. I'm waiting. My chat box is waiting for me to read it out. Do you think a pre-primary child can teach and remember 90% of the learning that happens in the classroom? Yes, no, कुछ तो कोई तो जवाब. Okay. So Kinda ma'am, would you also like to share how? Nivedita ma'am, do you like to share something? How? If you please unmute yourself and give us some insight into how do you think they can teach others? How a teacher can provide opportunities where a child can teach and not a teacher to be teaching.
Hello, Anshu, ma'am.
Hi, Nivita. How are you?
Good, good.
Yes.
Definitely, I'll partly agree, partly won't, because learning, I think, is both way. The child do participate and learn, and the teacher also there, they mentor. So I partly agree, partly don't. But yes, when there is experiential method of learning, when the child is exposed to the things, they make out something, they learn better as compared to when teacher tells them what to make and what not to make
Okay.
from something. Like if we give them some words, some alphabets, like randomly I give them alphabets and they know the letter sound, I tell them to join, club them and see what you get. So they learn better when they make cat at their own rather than if I tell them at a cat and make it know. So I think this is this is the way they can learn.
Right. So this is one of the way where you said you are leaving them to make a choice of their own, and choices are very important for children because that's how they become very comfortable. They would choose something which they're very comfortable with, and step by step they're going to move forward and they'll be able to teach. I see a big response here. If we teach them with example, just give them an example, tell us about red, they will sure tell rose is red, strawberry are red is beautiful, and so on. And they think more creatively when they make them choices. Thank you so much, Deepshika. It's a great response from you, and I think you've taken a long time writing it. Thank you so much. So definitely this is what I'm trying to say. When you give them a choice to teach, so how can teaching happen? Very simply, within the peer group, within small groups, by making little spaces which are very comfortable for them, where they're not judged. So in the group, when they share their work, I've got something. This is my family photograph. I would like to tell you about this. This is my little toy. I would like to tell you about this. This is black in color. I love it. I use it for this. I sleep with it. They are kind of expressing their own areas with their peer group. It's not about teaching that you make them stand in front of the whole class and you tell them, now you tell us. It's about picking up their own choices and dealing with them, right? And sharing with others. So the moment they share, the thought process is like cleansed, it's evaluated, it's gone deeper. And therefore, children remember that experience. They remember that experience. So if someone of us would have, even in 1 year or 2 years of our schooling, if once we would have stood on the stage, we would have prepared for it. And this preparation would have given us an in-depth structure of remembering that experience in our life. But if you we have all gone to school for years and days, but we would have hardly remembered each day of our schooling, right? So we have to create those experiences where children will discuss, they will do, and they will teach others, and that's how they will remember. And that's what we are going to do in the pre-primary curriculum of Ripples. And this is based on the NEP guidelines. So therefore, you don't have to look out here and there, because we are going to do this with the pre-primary curriculum, that we are going to inculcate the 21st century skills. So there are 4 skills which are the base for the 21st century learners. And every school, every educational institute, every teacher, every parent needs to talk about it, needs to think about it, and needs to evolve oneself so that we are teaching these skills to our children. One is the first one, what do we see? We see collaboration. Then we see critical thinking, we see creativity, and we see communication, the 4 C's. हम किसी से बातचीत कर पाए, उनकी बातों को सुन पाए, communication. We are thinking out of the box, coming with new ideas, is creativity. We are able to make judicious, ideas, discussions in our life. We are able to move towards the rights and know where are the wrongs. That's critical thinking. And if we are able to move together with other people, that is collaboration. So whatever subject you may teach, you have to build on to these 4 C skills. So which is the subject which deals with communication? Which is the subject that deals with communication, where we are building communication? Languages. Whatever language you teach, you're trying to make a child communicate in that language, right? What about critical thinking? You're giving them maths, you're giving them EVS, creativity with art, and collaboration. Wherever you're putting a child and you're making an effort, giving an opportunity to work together, is collaboration, right? So आप जो भी subjects पढ़ाओगे, आपके finally यही सबसेट है skills का, जो 21st century skills हैं, जो उनको develop करने होंगे. Okay, so let's come to the pedagogies of how to teach these different subjects. Okay, so when we talk about EVS, we do it through VTS. When we talk about English and Hindi, we do through systematic synthetic phonics. When we talk about maths, we do through the CPA approach. And of course, art is integrated across different concepts and deals with its own basis of colors, knowing shapes, knowing the value, knowing about different artists. So that we do in arts, but it has to be like built on with the other subjects so that it can be an extension project for the other subjects. So how many of you heard about BTS? Yes, no? Or BTS, visual thinking strategy. नहीं है तो बहुत मजा आएगा, हाँ है तो भी बहुत मजा आएगा. BTS. You know what happens in BTS? We did a BTS session, Abhi. In this session only, we did a BTS. I had shown you a picture, right? I had shown you a picture about children, about a classroom. We did some questions about it. We did a discussion. That was a strategy of BTS. That means a teacher is going to show a picture before she tells about what we are going to do today. She depicts a picture and children talk about the picture. They find out words in the picture, develop vocabulary, develop critical thinking, give the reasons, and that's how we cover the whole concept. So it's as simple as doing a picture, reading and discussing. When we talk about systematic synthetic phonics, that is English and Hindi, this is a process of knowing the sounds in the language, the whole code of the language, and making words through it. When we talk about CPA, it's a Singapore approach to do mathematics. And here you are doing the concrete, with concrete manipulatives, you are doing maths. So we are going to cover each one of them now, one by one, right? But before we do that, I would like all of you to just leave everything. Just leave everything. Put your papers down. Put your pencils down. And just put your videos on. For a minute, just put your videos on, please. We're going to take a deep breath. We are going to inhale and exhale. Put your right hand on your head. Put your left hand on your heart or on your stomach and let it go like this. Let it go like this. And let's change. And then change. Okay. Can we go crisscross? Just hold your ears. Hold your ears back. Hold your ears back. And then let's go again. This time, the nose and the ear. And the nose and the nose and the ear. It's difficult. Difficult for me also to do it. Right. So you know what? Take a deep breath. What have you done? Do you know what you've done? You've given a lot of oxygen to your brain, and whatever knowledge that you had kept in one area has scattered, and now you are released of the tension, and that's because you were sitting for a very long time and listening to me. So this was happening. So a little brain break at any point of time will help your children come back into when you want to teach them more and more and more. So I'm going to start with language and literacy. This is with lots of knowledge and this is going to be with lots of experiences. So please be ready with your papers and scissors, clay atta pebbles, markers. Just be ready. Okay, let me share my screen with you again. Here we start with the language and literacy. That means English and Hindi. What do you see? What do you see? A horse, right? Okay. If I give you two words, and a word, pair, and I would have not shown a picture. And if you would have been a pre-primary child, would have been able to read this? No. You know why? क्यों नहीं पढ़ पाते आप? क्यों नहीं पढ़ पाते? बताएंगे? Why do you think a child would have not been able to read horse? Which one is the correct spelling? अगर हम पिक्चर नहीं दिखाते तो वो ये नहीं पढ़ पाएगा या नहीं बोल पाएगा ये क्या है, क्योंकि उसको इस लेटर्स की साउंड्स पता नहीं है. The child does not know the code of the language, that H giving me a sound, okay, that is okay, फिर भी पता होगा. R giving me a sound as O, S giving me a sound, E not giving me any sound. When I look at HOUSE, it looks similar to me to what HORSE is. It looks absolutely similar, same kind of a picture, but I don't know how to speak out this sound, right? So to teach reading or to make a child literate, it's important that they teach them how to read and write. That is literacy, okay? And there are two ways in which literacy happens. One of the way in which literacy happens, जैसे हमने पढ़ा अपने स्कूल में, वो था होल वर्ड अप्रोच. होल वर्ड अप्रोच में पूरा एक वर्ड, जैसे कि यहाँ पर बिग लिखा है, बिग को मैं पढ़ सकती हूँ BIG, big, right? That means I'm using my letter names and I'm reading this complete word, but I have to remember it as a picture. My brain will remember it as a picture and will say BIG, big, or say big whenever I will see this word. So the whole word is taken as a shape or a design, and my brain takes it as a shape or a design. Like I am looking at your faces, like I don't know. With Kamal Sharma sir's name, there are a lot of teachers sitting there. I do not know your name, but I am remembering your faces. Veera Rani ma'am's face, I am remembering. My brain is capturing this picture, this face, this shape, this design. It's capturing. And maybe when I see her next time, I'll be able to say, Veera Rani ma'am, it's you, right? Or any such Deva ma'am, this is you. Or Nivedita ma'am, this is you. So my brain is capturing those images. If we capture words like the images, this process is known as the whole word approach, right? But when you have to read a lot of words, you cannot use this approach, because with using this approach, you can use only limited words for reading because our memory is small. So what do we do when we have to teach our children about many words so that they're able to read any word in the dictionary? Then that can happen when we teach them the code of the language. We teach them speech sounds. So if I say this is a letter that, if this is a letter which makes the sound and this is a letter, this picture, whenever you see this picture, you'll have to say ik. And whenever you say this picture, you'll have to say if you say this picture, this is again going to be. So what am I doing? There are only few things that a child has to remember, but the child will be able to make many words. Okay. So this approach helps the child to crack the code naturally, and they just do it with whatever letters have been taught to them. Any word can be made. And this approach is known as the systematic synthetic approach to teaching English language. Let's have a little video and then we come back. Just let me know if you're able to hear. Are you able to see the YouTube screen?
What exactly is systematic synthetic phonics?
Are you able to see this, or shall I stop share and do it again? I'll put it. Now you'll be able to see.
When we learn the alphabet, we usually learn the letter names A, B, C, and so on. When we learn to read and spell, we need to know the speech sounds that the letters represent. For example, dog is made up of 3 speech sounds, D, O, G, blended together to make dog. Blending from left to right is a critical synthetic phonics skill. When we write the word dog, we need to recall the individual speech sounds that make up the word. This is known as segmenting. We need to recall each of the letters that represent those speech sounds to be able to write the word. Explicit teaching of segmenting and blending is essential to a synthetic phonics approach. English is made up of about 44 speech sounds, and we only have 26 letters of the alphabet to represent them. This means that we combine letters in more than 200 ways to represent speech sounds. Synthetic phonics does not mean fake words. It means phonic knowledge is built from simple to complex. For example, students are taught that the phonemes can be written as sip, grass, house, and later scent, voice, castle, science, and psychic, and the graphemes can represent s, z, sh, or zh in words. Decodable readers allow students to practice the phonic knowledge they have learned. Synthetic phonics is evidence-based instruction that benefits all students, but particularly those from disadvantaged families, students with learning difficulties, and students learning English as a second language. It is most effective as part of a well-developed, comprehensive literacy program. Decodable readers allow...
Yeah. I want you to all to come up to this place. I'll just show this again. Okay, just look at this picture that you see here. There is a sound S, there is a sound Z. The sound S is coming in sip with just letter S. Is coming in grass with two letters double S. It's coming in house with SE combination. It's coming in scent with C when is followed by E. It's coming in voice, the CE combination. Castle, SNT combination. Science, SC combination. And psychic, the PS combination. So what is happening here? We are not talking about the pre-primary right now. What we are talking about is the complexity of English language. That there is one sound, but it is being said, it's being spelled in so many different ways. So a child will have to be taught all this. We have to teach this to a child so that the child becomes comfortable in reading any word that comes and is able to give that particular sound. Okay. Simply look at it as a matra in Hindi. If you do not do a matra in Hindi, or if you do not do the roop in Hindi, if you do not teach the rishi in Hindi, do you think the child will be able to read those words comfortably? Will be able to crack those words whenever those words come? No. In a similar manner, a child has to be systematically taught this language where you are dealing with the phoneme grapheme association. And when I say phoneme grapheme, it means that there is a way to write and there is a way to sound out. So when you sound out something, that is a phoneme. How you write that sound is a grapheme. So if I ask you, what is the phoneme in these two? What is the phoneme? It's k, right? But there are two different ways to write it. I can show you this. I can also show letter K, the third different way to write this. So how you write it is the grapheme. How you sound it is the phoneme. And English is all about this combination and nothing more, right? So we just have to teach children about this basic combination. And if we are able to do this letter text or the symbol into spoken language, that means we are doing phonic instruction. We are doing a phonic instruction. Okay, let's move forward. Now, how do we do it in the Ripple's pre-primary curriculum? There are two pages that you can see. One is coming from the PP1 and one is coming from PP2. In the PP1 book, the vocabulary development is not so high when a child is just in PP1. If I talk about a letter, in PP1, there is not much vocabulary development which has happened for the child. So therefore, only limited pictures are given that begin with that particular letter sound. Okay. In PP2, we expect a child to have more vocabulary. So we give a composite picture. And this big picture, a lot of things can be talked about. So if I look at the big picture, I can do a BTS here. I can just show the story and I can this particular page and I can say, what do you see in this picture? So a child can say, I can see ants. Where are the ants going? They are going into their house. What is the house called? It's called an anthill. Who eats the ant? An animal eats ants. That's called an anteater. Oh, I can see a teacher. The teacher is teaching something. What is she talking about? The parts of the body. Which part of the body is there with the arrow? It's the ankle. Can you all show me your ankle? And this is how the teacher takes them through the composite image. A lot of vocabulary development happens, right? And when you come to PP3, it's about building bigger words and doing stories and reading sentences. But the sound structure continues. Every word would be done through the phoneme grapheme association. In PP1, we are taking away the beginning sound and we're talking about lamb, lion, lotus, right? In PP2 also, we are doing the beginning letter sound like apples and ankle and astronaut and athlete and ants and anteater, anchor, arrow, axe, alligator. All the words that are giving you the same sound. But when you come to PP3, you are using these sounds to put them as words and then making sentences, right? But here again, you'll have to talk about how many sounds you have. The sounds are coming in the beginning, middle, as well as end. So this is the phoneme graphing association, or what would I say, how you are taking from PP1 to PP3 and from PP2 to PP3, the literacy VHP. Wherever you are teaching English or Hindi, there are basically 5 skills that you have to deal with. The 5 skills. So we had the 5 questions. So this hand is going to come again and again. So we had the 5 questions for inquiry. Here we are going to have 5 skills for literacy. The first skill is the knowing the letter sound. कि कौन से letter की कौन सी आवाज होती है. Whether you are doing English or whether you are doing Hindi, it's going to be the same, right? Then you come to letter formation. How do I write it? If you say a sound, I must know what is the stroke to write it. How do I write it with a tool, with a writing tool? Be it I'm doing it in the sand, be I'm doing it in the air, I'm doing it anywhere, but I need to know how to write it. So that's the second skill that a child needs to know. The third skill is blending, that is putting sounds together or pushing sounds. Why do we learn sounds? We learn sounds to make words. So if a child knows I have done sounds and now I can make words, it's so much fun for a child. He starts to make sense of whatever he has learned. And then we go to segmenting, which is breaking the sounds in a word. And then comes tricky words, the words which cannot be broken by sounds, but I have to learn them with their names is tricky words, right? So whatever you may do, let's look at the PP1. Here we're doing a very, very big figure for letter formation. Inside that figure, you'll have to do the rainbow tracing. In PP2, this is a little bit of tracing over with smaller lines, narrower lines, smaller letters, but you are writing the uppercase and lowercase both. And when you go to PP3, it is going to be a lot of independent writing, but we have given the lines as would come in the notebook for a child to write neatly within the lines and not trouble a teacher about giving bigger words or smaller words. So, so when they go to grade 1, they're actually very systemized towards writing letters, the tall letters, the fall letters, the base letters, and they understand how the picture is made up. So this would help you understand. Now, when you are doing English or you're doing Hindi, we will all understand that when we are teaching the first letter sounds to children, we teach the beginning letters, right? In some areas, it might happen that the children come with the previous knowledge of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the teacher starts to do avocado. And then when you do avocado, it becomes a little difficult because the parents don't understand what you're trying to deal with. Okay, we have got different approaches to deal with, and I'll share things with you, what you can share with your parents. But even if you're having difficulty, you can use a trick. You can do the alphabet sound. And you can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G one day. And then you say, it's like singing names for the letters. So all the students in the class, let's sing names for them, right? So there is Anshu, Neetu, Veera, Ritu, Devendra, na, 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 na. So we sing the names of all the children, right? We say names, but can Ritu and Veera talk to each other? And we hear some sounds. I know this is Veera talking. I know this is Neetu talking. I can recognize their sounds. And they try to understand that the sounds are different than the names. You can also do an activity where you can put a lot of pictures of animals and you can give the names of the animals. or you can play the old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, right? And a duck here and a duck there, quack here and a quack there. So they know that the names of animals and the sounds of animals are different. And then when you start to teach the letter A, letter B, whatever letter you have to teach, come to that letter. So if it's letter F for me today, I'll come to A, B, C, D, E, F. We're going to do letter F today. What sound does it make? Wherever I see it, I would say. So this is kind of a strategy where you're not putting, kind of just alienating your child from what the parent has done, but you are taking the child beyond with the same knowledge. And once the child starts to read in your classroom or identify letters in the classroom with ease, with the activities would you do, the parents will also identify that the names of the letters and the sounds of the letter in English are different. And for reading, we need the sounds of the letters. Letter X is going to be special because here you cannot teach the beginning sound. You'll have to teach the ending sound, right? Because it is not with the beginning that we get the x sound, which we teach to children. It doesn't come with X-ray or Xmas or xylophone, or, when it comes in words with fax, wax, box, six, right? Where you've got a x sound at the end of a word. So this is going to be similar to what you do in Hindi with the d, baan, karn, in a similar manner. Okay, you're going to have little problems with the letter A and letter E, but if you do the correct mouth positions, it is not going to be a difficulty. Generally, when we speak, we are not using, we are not really using the mouth position well. So if I say letter A, it's going to be chin down, open mouth, ah. But if I say it looks like letter E. So the child is not in a problem because I am not doing the correct, using the correct mouth position. But if I say ah, it's very clear and loud. If I say it's very clear that I'm using the sound, as in egg, as in escalator. My mouth is going wide like a smile. The chin is not coming down as an ah. Okay, a few tricks and tips, which of course you'll have to do, and the same will go with the Hindi also. The beginning sound of the letters you'll have to teach if you've taken Hindi. So it is not going to be क for कीड़ा, क से कीड़ा नहीं होगा. आपके पास में क से कबूतर होगा, कलम होगा, कमल होगा. Words which are making the pure sound. You have to remember that. The book is remembering that. But when you are dealing with things, you'll have to remember the same strategy. Now, English does not have just 26 sounds. It has 42 sounds that we covered in the pre-primary, that is the PP3. Here you've got a lot of combinations. So if you see the light blue ones, there's a combination double O. Then if you go to the yellow ones, you will see combinations of consonants coming together. And then you go to the light green ones, you've got again combinations, and the orange ones and the purple ones. So many combinations we have to teach. Not all of them. We will leave the ZH and the AW. We'll leave that, but the rest of them we'll have to teach to our children. But that only happens in the PP3, not in PP1, not in PP2. So PP1, we deal with just the 26 letters uppercase, because we have to build the vocab. So it's not about the letter writing, which is very important. It is not about really the making of the words. It's about getting the sounds right, doing a lot of phonological awareness, which I'm going to just deal with, and getting the vocabulary. It's difficult for us to teach children the Hindi and English vocab together. Therefore, PP1 is going to be a lot of vocabulary development exercises. PP2 is going to be the uppercase, lowercase, finding the beginning letters, doing a little rhyming sounds with letters at the end, trying to make words and a few sentences. And PP3 is where a lot of sentences, a few spelling rules, digraphs, diphthongs all come into place, and we are able to cover these sounds, which help a child read around 50,000 words before they go to grade 1. Okay. I to not really covering up all the sounds here. I will give you all the apps and the links so that you can practice the sounds, with those links, and I can cover more questions at the end if we get time. So I did a few activities with you, saying names of children, saying names of animals. Similar activities you will also find in the book. Before you begin with letter sounds, there are going to be some activities where we're talking about just sounds in the environment. There are going to be some sounds in the environment which to identify. And that is why we do a lot of rhymes with sounds, because it's about tuning in the ears. So अगर मैं कहीं से बच्चे से पूछती हूँ, what sound do you hear? So the child must understand what is the meaning of the word sound. What do I comprehend from sound? That's very important. So to develop that, we do phonological awareness exercises, right? So you can see, like, even if this is from PP1, this is from PP2, and this is from PP3, where we are doing the number ear game. So if I say the word mess, a child does not even know, what is the spelling of mess. And if I just say mess, how many sounds do you hear? Mess. 3 sounds. Okay, milk. Milk. Sang. Sang. Okay, well. Well. What am I doing? I'm just trying to tune in the ears so that the children are able to understand sounds. And then we do deal with the phonemic awareness, that is doing the phoneme graphing association. So please do not leave those important activities which are given in the initial days for the settling. So जैसे आप writing के लिए pincer development करते हैं ना, आप बहुत सारी pincer activities करते हैं, ना? Paper tearing, pasting, clay usage. You do all these activities so your children are able to pick up a pen or a pencil and able to write well. These muscles should be developed. In a similar manner, phonological awareness activities are very important for your children to get to the ears hearing the sound. So please take good note of those activities, and do not skip those activities. I would like you to please go to Play Store, or you can just click this screen's photograph and download a few apps which you can also give it to your parents. So one is a phonological awareness app where you will find musical instrument sounds, vehicle sounds, animal sounds, and which they can practice to develop vocabulary as well as the sound structure. That's called the Phonological Awareness App from SAR. From the Google Play Store, you can download it, right? Then you have a Fitzroy app, Fitzroy Sounds app, that you can download and you can practice these sounds for yourself. The ah and the p. So please, this will really help you. Even if you've got a new child in the classroom, you've covered a lot of sounds, and you can't do everything with the new child right now, then you can just support the parent by giving these apps to the parent. They can practice at home and they can come back in the classroom ready for you to take on the learning forward. Then you have the raindrops, phonic raindrops. So phonic raindrops is this one where you deal with the drops falling down, and they give you a sound and you have to click them and collect those sound drops. And similarly is the Hindi software, Hindi Sarika software app from Google Play Store. I will wait in the chat box for your Ritika Dhawan, ma'am. Is there anything that you want to talk about phonic sounds? Please go ahead and share if you want to share something. And if you have sent me your mail IDs, if you filled the form, you will get the links of all these apps in your mail IDs. And you can share with all the other people in the school, with your parents, because we are here to help you out. Okay, let's go to letter formation. Okay, so let's be ready. So there is a template that you need to make. I have made my templates. If you want, you can see those templates. I have made my templates. Templates are given here also. Right? Use your papers and your markers to make templates of the letter that you want to write. आपने बना लिया? सबने टेम्पलेट बना लिया? जो भी लेटर आप लिखवाना चाहते हैं उसका एक टेम्पलेट बनेगा. ओके? और इस टेम्पलेट में एक यूनिक चीज है. So who is joining from Kamal Sharma's ID? All the teachers, I would request you to please make the templates. Please make the templates. So, teachers, this is about experiential learning. अगर आप करोगे, आप involve होगे, तो आप याद रखोगे. अगर आप सिर्फ देखोगे या सिर्फ सुनोगे, तो 2 हफ्ते के बाद में सिर्फ 20% नॉलेज आपके पास रह जाएगी. Thank you so much, Shefi ma'am. Krishnama, beautiful name. Okay, so what I do with these, I have the template with me, right? I show it on the board how to draw it. Okay, so I can show to my children how to draw it. Okay, which is step number 1, which is step number 2. Then I can ask my children to trace in the air with 2 fingers. So suppose I've done 3, so I'm going to do 3. So it goes halfway and halfway. But understand that there is always a start point and there is a stroke. So whenever you are telling your children to do a letter formation or a number formation, akshar formation, please talk about that they have a start point and they have a stroke. Okay? Then you can dip your fingers in different colors and you can do it on your template. So ये मेरा जो template है, इसको मैं cover कर सकती हूँ. Now let me do it with the clay. Do you have clay or atta or anything? Make a big sausage, long one, right? A very long one I would require. Not a short one, a very long one I would require. Why I would require a long one? I would require a long one because there is a start point and there is a stroke. And I cannot break it. I cannot break this. So if this is my start point, I have to put the stroke. So this is my start point. If you can see my start point, right? And this is my stroke. And I cannot break my clay sausage till my formation is complete, or I have to pick up my pencil. So things that happen with one stroke will have to have one clay sausage. Many a times we have seen that children, what do? थोड़ा सा बनाते हैं, फिर लगाते हैं, तोड़ देते हैं, फिर उसके बाद में फिर यहाँ से फिर शुरू करते हैं. जब वो फाइनल आउटपुट आपको दिखता है तो आपको लगता है वाह, my template is complete. But actually the child has not learned the stroke. So your outcome is not that your child should be able to complete with clay or make the letter with clay. Your objective of doing this activity is that you're giving a sensory tactile learning to the brain, to the neurons, where they specifically understand that letter 2, if I have to do number 2, then it has to start from here. This is the starting point. I go up and down, and then I go to the left. So ये पूरा का पूरा stroke उनके पास में होना चाहिए, right? आपने इससे किया, अब मैं क्या करूंगी? I will do it with various other things. So therefore, a lot of templates have to be created by you. And these templates, now I'm going to do it with glue. Glue के साथ में भी मेरा stroke वही रहेगा. That will not change. From the start dot, I go here and do it. And because it is a bigger one, तो मैं क्या करूंगी? मैं इसको बार बार इसी stroke से glue से बनाऊंगी. Again and again, the same stroke. So I start from here, go this side, down and to the left. Start from here, go this side, down to the left. And then I am going to have some chai patti with me, right? Or maybe salt, if it's a colored paper. And what I do is, I just place this over whatever I have. Okay? Whatever I have, and I press it, and I get my letter. Okay? What did I do? I've given a signal to the brain again. I have not sprinkled it like this. I have not sprinkled it like this, because in the sprinkling, the objective would be I have to fill this up. And my objective is to give the right stroke to the child so that the child remembers that. Okay? Once you've done this, I can do it again. One more time. One more time, the same stroke. I can do it with different things. Maybe leaves around. Maybe salt. Maybe glitter. Maybe pebbles. But the concept remains the same. So this is a white color. You might not be able to see it much. But if you see, I've got a tactile letter again. And it's very simple. Doesn't spread. Children don't use most of their hands like this. And then you can have a big cutout. And then your children can contain pebbles and leaves and sticks from outside. Oh, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can see the letters. I can see the letters coming in. Wow. Thank you so much. Isn't it a beautiful exercise? And what you get with your children is ready-made cards. Do not leave this exercise, because your children will have the cards with them, and now you can do so many activities with them. So you can just say, okay, if I have this particular picture, can you show me the letter which makes the beginning sound? So it's got a sound. So which is the letter? So if they have got a letter S, which is already made with them, they will all pick up. And a teacher, even in an online class, can understand which student is picking up the right sound. So this is activity-based assessment as well. So you did the activity-based learning. I see a lot of smiles when I do this activity with teachers, because letter formation is something that we really struggle with our children to make them do. They don't want to write. They don't want to write again and again and fill pages of worksheets, because writing is tedious for them. They have to remember strokes which they can't do. The fingertips, when they hold it, they are not so strengthened. The muscles are not so strengthened that the lines can go over the dotted lines, and they don't want imperfections. But when you do these activities, you will see a lot of change. And please don't miss these activities. Take a click of this, put it with you, so that you have a lot of flashcards in the coming season with your children. If you want these templates, I can send you the PDF of templates. I can even send that, so that you can just take this, send it to the parents. Parents can take a printout, and every child will have the right template with the right dots, because start dots are very, very important. And the same start dots you will find in the books as well. So if you've done this here, the start dot there starts to make sense for them. Okay. So let's move forward. These are some of the things which children have done, with us, the different kinds of letters that they've created with different things. These are the walls from one of the classroom. And once the cutout is there, they can even do the vocabulary wall. They can even do the vocabulary wall, wherein they are picking up pictures from the house, newspaper cuttings, magazines, and pasting them for whatever begins with that particular sound. So that kind of a thing can also be done. Whenever you are doing letter formation, the focus has to be the start point and stroke. And for this, we do a little activity, which is froggy legs. So you can see here that there are two formations which you are seeing. So one is for a left-hander and the other is for a right-hander. So if there is a left-hander child, always have to focus that, there's a tilted notebook. The child is able to see the letter and the pencil goes out. The pencil is kept out. If it's a right-hander who's doing the writing, then, from the inside of the letter, you can see the writing happen. And the activity here, which is shown, is the froggy leg. So we paint the thumb and the index finger. So these are the legs of a frog, painted green, as if the legs of the frog, eyes being made here, and the frog is jumping up and down, up and down, up and down. Try doing this, teachers. You will feel a lot of pressure here. Just try doing this activity with the froggy legs, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And you will see that there is a lot of pressure coming in here. And their child has to rest. The frog has to rest. So there is a log. So this is my log, which is painted round there. So this is the log. And now you've got a pincer grip. And with this pincer grip, you can easily ask the child to hold the pencil. So if in the beginning you have problems with your children because of the online classes, a lot of problems with handwriting good proper, please use the froggy legs activity, wherein you can ask your children to do this froggy leg activity before they hold the pencil, and then they can go beyond. So this is going to give you the right hold, the right hold for the pencil. Okay, let's move on. A little break. A little break. This is called a lazy 8. And I can show you the lazy 8 there on the wall. And I can stand and show it and do it for you. Just give me a moment. Okay. So if you can see on my screen, if I'm visible. Okay. This is my lazy 8. And a lying 8, a lazy 8, because it doesn't want to get up. Okay. So what I do, I breathe in, put my finger here, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I can do it with my thumb, a lazy 8. I can do it in opposite directions, depending on my children. If they're used to it, I can do it. If you please do it with me, it will help you develop concentration, focus, and get you back into the rhythm of learning. Teachers, if you could do the lazy 8 with me once. Okay, thank you. थोड़ा सा बड़ा. You'll have to go beyond. पहले अगर आपने छोटे से शुरू किया है, make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Go down to the waist. So that's the lazy 8. Okay. Then you have some more activities like putting a musical Mozart music. Tapping. Tapping is also very beautiful. If you don't want your children to get up, But you want them to relax, they're tired, just go for a little tapping exercise and use connections. Tap around your eyes, up, down your ear, go down to the chin, and you're doing body parts. So whenever you're doing body parts also, you can talk about moving on the arm, left hand, right hand, shoulders. Tapping really helps to release tensions. And then the crisscross. I love this. So crisscross is anything when this is my midline, and if I'm moving my body across the midline, any of the ways, so you can do little exercises which are crisscross. You can have buttons on the wall and you can go crisscross. You can do any kind of crisscross activity where you're crossing the midline, right? And that's how they will help develop concentration. So a little activity for you before we move on to the third skill, that is blending. Just let me move back to my place. Okay, so what's blending? It isn't switched on, it's on. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, blending is about putting sounds together. So how do we start it? We may start it with just two sounds. I will repeat, you will have to repeat after me, even if you're on a mute. Okay, so we have got the letter B, which make the sound P, and we've got these vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, E. Can you say with me? A, E, I, O, E. So when you put a B, A, it becomes ba, be, ti, bo, b, ka, da, de, di, do, de, fa, fe, fi, fo, f, and so on. Okay, now this is given in the book. So you have to do just a fun activity with your children, putting the sounds together. You can even do activities by just taking in the letters, because now they have got the letter cards. So while doing the letter formation, if you do the letter cards would be ready. Even in PP3, my suggestion is the first activity that you do when you begin with your classroom is get the letter cards ready. They know the letter formation, but you can still tell them, make the letter cards. And for PP3, it should be one side lowercase and one side uppercase. Because they're going to do sentences as well. Sam went to a hill. So Sam the letter is going to be the capital S. Okay, so PP3, get them to the capital, lowercase, uppercase, lowercase letters on the same card. And you can just go on and say, this is what do you get together? Sad, right? Take away the, okay. So we were doing the hat and the ham, and we're talking about once you got the letters, then making them do bigger words is also simpler, right? So you just have to know the letter sounds, put them together. Even a 4-letter, 5-letter, 6-letter word is not difficult. So if they know hat, they can also go in and make help, ham, sand, swift, picnic, confident, right? So this is my third skill, which is done beautifully in the Ripples pre-primary. And you do a little sounds, you put them together, and you do a story, and that's how you're moving forward. And then we have to understand the fourth skill, which is segmenting. Segmenting is finding the sounds in a word. So if I tell you, if I say, can you write swift for me? So what is the process? What happens when you write swift? You look at the complete word, you hear the complete word, then you start to divide it in the sounds. So you figure out which is the first one. Okay, I will write that down. Swift. And if I say snail, what do? The first sound is S, A, and So segmenting is about writing and blending is about reading. So when you say you're reading, you are actually blending sounds. And when you say you are writing, you're actually segmenting sounds. Right? So before you do any page of the Ripple's pre-primary book, in the tuning is there is a game mentioned for you to do the sounds. Please do that game religiously before you go on. And this is a request, a hand-folded request. Please do not write any answers for your children. This book is completely decodable. Decodable in the sense that every word which is given for the child to complete can be read by the child. There is no word which is a surprise for the child. Even when you do a story, the tricky word is completed before it is mentioned. Do this tricky word with your child, and then the child can read the story. So if I look at this particular story, like the test or the tough story, so this covers a rule known as the floss rule, जिसमें हम लास्ट में डबल एफ डबल एस डबल जेड या डबल एल यूज करते हैं, लेकिन उसका साउंड जो होता है वो सिंगल ही आता है. So if you say mess, it's like x. If you say bill, it's bill. Test, x, test. So the story is based on this particular rule only. But before this, we have already taught them how to read the double letters as single letter. We've talked about it. So then the story becomes a simple decodable story for a child, which a teacher will not read aloud. The teacher will not say, now open up page number so-and-so, read after me. No, this is not required. She can just talk about the pictures and she say, wow, this is a story of a girl. She's wearing a beautiful dress and her name is this and this. I would like you to read the story and then we will discuss. And then you can have a lot of questions about the story. You can go to those children who are struggling and let them work in pairs, in small groups to read the story to each other, because teaching is very important. So until unless they read out to the pair group, they will not become very confident or they'll not remember how they are doing it. So the lesson plans and everything talk about it, and that's what I wanted to share with you. So basically identifying the sounds in the words, we can do action segmenting, we can do silent, which is also known as silent segmenting. We can do oral or phonological segmenting. जैसे मैंने अभी आपके साथ में किया था, S. आपने कुछ देखा नहीं, मैंने आपके सामने word नहीं रखा, but I'm just doing the tuning of the ears, right? And then comes the segmenting of the words with the flashcards. So if I say these two, if I say for, so it's like or for. So where I'm using the flashcards to segment and you are able to read the graphemes. Theek? I use a very, very important character of mine. This is known as Ali the Snatcher. This is my puppet that takes away all the sounds. It eats sounds. So इसको मैं बहुत use करती हूँ to take away the sounds, right? So if I say mat, at, cat, at, तो आपको beginning sound करना हो, आपको ending sound करना हो, आपको सारे sounds करने हो, you can just use this Ali Snatcher to do that activity. Okay, so if it's cat and if you pick up all the sounds, it's cat. If it's the end sound, you can take away cat. So your children will know, ma'am is taking the beginning. Is she taking all the sounds or is she taking the beginning and leaving away the end sound? right? So use this. Dots you will find at a lot of places. Dots you will find numbers to be put up. So these activities are already given for you. You can go through these activities. So once you go through the book sets, you will understand through the lesson plans how they are being covered. And of course, the last is the tricky word. So tricky word is, I can't read these words. They are used many times, commonly used, but I don't know why this is sound loud this. अब letter A को जब भी अकेला होता है, I have to say a or a. I don't know why. I don't know why I can't say add to it. So this I have got no reason to explain to a child. So I would say it's a tricky word. So I have a tricky word poster here, right? And my children use a hat, just like a crown, to do the tricky words. So if I have to teach letter A or THE, I would write it here. So let me just write it here. And this becomes my tricky word for the day. I become prince or the princess, and my name is A. So everyone's going to call me A today. And when they look at it again and again, they know that this is letter A. Similarly, I do THE with another child, I with another child, TO2 with another child. And that's how I cover the few tricky words that are coming in my stories one by one. And then you have to do a little practice with children about tricky words. So maybe you can just talk about a tricky word and say, okay, can you find a word for me that's the? अब मुझे पढ़ना आना चाहिए ना? So the, I, A. So this is called the squatting of the tricky words, which is also mentioned. I'm just doing these little activities so that you'll be able to kind of remember it. And, once you've seen them and, then you can, once you read them, you'll be able to know how to do it. Okay. So all these games are there, the sort the fly, magic crown we've just done, roll the dice. So I'll just stop this and then any questions so far for English? If you can put it together quickly. Because I think we'll have to do one more session for maths. Or you want to extend for 15-20 minutes and you want to do maths a little? What does my audience say? Yeses, nos, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Would all of you like to do it? I'll give you a little glimpse. Okay, great. Great. So any questions for English? Go ahead, please, if you've got a question. No? Nothing? तो या तो सब कुछ समझ आया या कुछ समझ नहीं आया एक ही रीजन हो सकता है नो क्वेश्चन का
नो मैम आपका बहुत अच्छे से समझ आता है
थैंक यू मैम पर ठीक है मुझे भी पूछना पड़ता है वैसे ही कि भाई ठीक है समझ आ रहा है ना
यस मैम आपका सेशन बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होता है मैम
थैंक यू सो मच
मैम हमने लर्निंग साउंड्स बिगनिंग साउंड मिडल साउंड सभी साउंड्स हमने आपसे सीखे हैं थैंक यू
और मैम क्ले का जो आइडिया था वो भी बड़ा अच्छा लगा हमें जो आपने क्ले का आइडिया दिया वो भी अच्छा था
हेयरिंग साउंड्स कि बच्चे कैसे हेयर करेंगे ईयर में फिर वो साउंड जो है वो बोल पाएंगे
Right. Thank you, Ji. So let's start with maths. So when we talk about maths, we've got two kinds of things that we do in mathematics. हम pre-number concepts करते हैं और हम number concepts करते हैं. Pre-number concepts सारे ही number concepts में use होते हैं. We use the pre-number concepts in number concepts. Right? जैसे कि आप tall and short करते हो, big small करते हो, you use them in measurement. Right? You do it in comparison. Huh? So all the pre-numbered concepts are used in number concepts. And when you talk about number concepts, one of the most important thing is that I do quantification. So quantification kya hai? Quantification is how much do I have? So if I ask you, how much is 9? Can you show me anything which is 9? Can you show me something which is 9? जल्दी जल्दी रिस्पॉन्स करोगे तो जल्दी जल्दी आगे बढ़ेंगे. Can you show something which is 9? अरे अपनी उंगलियां ही दिखा दो. You can show me your fingers. Right? Something which is 9. Yes. So they have collected all the shapes, the 9 shapes. Okay. Can you show something which is 31? Easy or difficult?
3 10 और 1.
पर अभी तो आपने मुझे ये 9 दिखाया था, अब आप मुझे यही 3 10s बोल रहे हो.
3 10.
काउंट करके दिखाओ ना कितना. काउंट करके बताओ कितना हुआ 3 10s and 1s. नहीं कर पाते ना. तो यहाँ पर क्योंकि हम बच्चों को नंबर ये नहीं बता पाते कि ये कितना होता है, they do not know the measurement of it. They do not know, they are not able to visualize how much. Therefore, we need to use some concrete tools to help them know and count numbers. One of the concrete tools that you will use in your classrooms is a bead string, a beaded string. अगर आपके क्लासरूम में नहीं है, आप कोई भी मोती की माला बना लीजिए, क्ले की माला बना लीजिए, और हर बच्चे के पास में एक छोटी मोती की माला होनी चाहिए. 10 one colors, then 10 another color, then the first color, then the second color. So after every 10, the color is going to change. So it's a set of 10s. So like I have got the reds, the whites, reds and the whites, reds and the whites. So they are in 10s. Now, if you tell a child, can you show me 11? Yes, ma'am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there is an 11. अच्छा, 11 के बाद में 1 और कर लो. What is the number? So now I have to just tell a child that the number is set 12. 1 after the child will be able to do easily. If you said 1 before, the child will be able to do easily because 1 the child understands. After, before is what you have to make the child understand, and you have to tell them. जैसे आप apple बोलते हो, रटवाना पड़ता है ना. Bed, big, ball, feather. ये words को आपको vocabulary देनी पड़ती है. In a similar manner, you have to tell them the numbers 1 to 20. And then 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. This is the vocabulary that you'll have to give them to rote memorize. But how much is 20 will only come when they use a string-like thing. Another thing which you will use is going to be the tens frame. इसका भी मैं टेम्पलेट आपको भेज रही हूँ. आपके नंबर उनके टेम्पलेट के साथ में, लेटर के टेम्पलेट के साथ में आई एम सेंडिंग यू अ प्रिंटेबल टेम्पलेट. आप पेरेंट्स से प्रिंट करवा सकते हो. ठीक है. प्रिंट करवाने के बाद में आप स्कूल में भी कर सकते हो और बिंदियों का यूज कर सकते हो. ओके. Different, lots of bindis you can have in the classroom. This concept will help you do a lot of things: addition, subtraction, number bonds. So अगर मुझे अगर मेरे पास में सपोज कीजिए कि यहाँ पर 4 नंबर्स हैं. ठीक है. ये 4 किससे बने हुए हैं? 1 green and 3 red. कोई और तरीका है 4 बनाने का? All the red, 2 greens. Is it not about critical thinking?
Yes.
Will the child not use critical thinking? Right? So this we have to ask questions. This kind of a number talk has to happen. आपने 4 बनाना तो सीख लिया, 4 तो समझ में आ गया. Now you have got 2 color beads. Use the 2 color beads to show me number 4. Okay, you might use 3 color beads. You might use 4 different beads, and they can show you different colors, different numbers as you grow. Aage. Another way of you doing a tens frame is, suppose I have got a number 4 and I have these many beads and I have to add on. Add on करने के लिए हम क्या करते हैं? हम उन्हें ये सिखाते हैं कि आपको 10 बनाना आना चाहिए. You should be able to go to the nearest 10. Now, telling them to go to the nearest 10 is not an easy thing. So what we tell them, पहले इसको fill करो. पहले जब आप इसको fill करोगे, तब आप next वाले नंबर में बाकी चीजें लगा पाओगे. ठीक है? तो अगर मुझे इसे fill करना है तो मुझे कितने चाहिए? 6 I will require here. And the child will start to read it as 110. The child will start to read it as 110. So these are 10. 10 I have got. Another 3 I'm going to put here. So 1 is filled and another I have got 3. So this again helps a child to understand how to do addition by making a completion of 10. Which is very difficult even in grade 1 to do. Right? Another thing which I always recommend, I am sending this template also. इसका भी printable template मैं आपको भेज रही हूँ. आप print करवाइए, उसको कटवाइए, चाहे कार्डबोर्ड पे लगवाना है, चाहे मोटे पेपर पे करवाना है, कैसे भी करना है, but ये हर बच्चे के पास में होना चाहिए. Then only will you be able to do experiential learning with them or critical thinking with them. Otherwise, it's going to be rote. This is known as Dean's block. This is known as Dean's block, right? ये मेरे ones हैं, ये वाले squares ones हैं, और ये जो rod है ये tens है. ठीक है? So when I start to teach my child, I start teaching with the ones. So जैसे मैंने यहाँ पर one सिखाया bead में, जैसे कि मैंने आपके tens frame में one सिखाया, यहाँ पर मैंने one सिखाया, वैसे ही मैंने यहाँ पर one सिखाया. तो 1 तो हर जगह एक जैसा ही होगा ना? It is going to be similar because I know the quantification of 1. Then I go to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to move 10. I tell them you have to use and you have to use a tens rod. This becomes my tens rod. Right? तो अभी तक बच्चे इसको देखकर लिख रहे थे 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I tell them you have to use the tens because this is a rule of maths. That once you got to go to 9 and then you got one more, you have to club them and you have to make them, club them, make a rod. And they can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But how do I write it? What is the process of writing it? To write it, I have to tell them, how many rods do you see, beta? 1 rod. Do you see any green blocks? Do you see any green blocks? No, that's when you see nothing, it's a 0. तो आप ये जो लिखते हो ना, इससे कोई फायदा नहीं होता. TO के नीचे लिखने से कोई फायदा नहीं होता बिकॉज जब आप TO के नीचे 1 0 लिखते हो या TO के नीचे 1 1 लिखते हो, इट डजंट मेक एनी सेंस टू अ चाइल्ड. फॉर इट द डिजिट इज 1 1. राइट. मेरे ख्याल से मैम अब जो आप बोल रहे थे ना 3 10s, वो यहां से क्लियर होगा जब वो बच्चा बोलेगा दिस इज माय 1 10, दिस इज माय 1 1 एंड नाउ इट इज 11. Use your Dean's block very, very religiously, because once they know this, then this approach is the concrete. जब वो concrete चीजों के साथ काम करते हैं. अब आप यहाँ पे अगर ये रख दोगे, तो आप बताओ बच्चों को नहीं पता होगा कि यहाँ पर मुझे 2 यूज करना है. बस आपने यही तो सिखाना है कि इसको 20 बोलते हैं. राइट? फिर जब आप 1 crore और रख दोगे या जब 100 का ब्लॉक रख दोगे, so will the child not be able to tell you that this is 121? Okay, so this is what is concrete. In the book, you will have pages where you will have the pictorial representation. I will show you the pictorial representation pages. This is how the pictures will be represented in the book. So this is the P approach, the pictorial stage of the CP approach, right? And here the children will be able to do up. If I have to do 33 and 45, which is more? So I can easily do it with my teens block. I can use the teens block. एक तरफ 33 लगाया, एक तरफ 45 लगाया. Very clearly, I'll be able to understand which is more, which is less. Okay. And last, absolutely last, you get the abstract approach, जहां पर आपके पास में कोई पिक्टोरियल रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं होता, वहां पर आपके पास में सिर्फ और सिर्फ नंबर्स होते हैं. Okay, so this is how you do the maths approach. What I am sending you is one of this document. इस डॉक्यूमेंट में आपके पास में बहुत सारे गेम्स लिखे हुए हैं. अगर टेंस फ्रेम है तो उससे आप क्या क्या कर सकते हो. अगर आपके पास में डाइस है तो उससे आप क्या खेल सकते हो. ठीक है, आपके पास में अगर काउंटिंग स्ट्रिंग है तो उससे आप क्या क्या खेल सकते हो. बीट से आप क्या क्या खेल सकते हो. So all this is I'm sending you. So if you can have a note, I have sent you the VHPs, right? I will be sending you all the app links. I will be sending you the template for writing, for numbers, letter formation, digit formation, Hindi. And I will be sending you this document, which is a game document for you. It is our manipulative document where you have all the information about the games that you can play with the manipulatives. Right? So this is all that I wanted to share. I know it's late. I'm almost 6 to 7 minutes, taking more time than I promised. 3 to 5 was the session, but it's taken around 7 to 10 minutes more. People who have questions and queries can stay back. If you do not have any questions and queries, one thing I would request you to do is please fill in the feedback form. I'm just sharing the feedback form with you. Fill in the feedback. That is going to help us understand ourselves better. That is going to help us understand where we want to do better things, polish our trainings, and so just sharing with everyone in the meeting. Please click on the feedback form. It will take a minute for you to finish this. And I'm here for another 10-15 minutes or till the time we have more questions. Yes, Sangeeta ma'am, would you like to ask something?
Yeah, Anshu, hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm so fine, and Anshu, it is so good. But we are waiting for the physical training also because number of the new teachers are be there, so they want to meet you. So hopefully, I think you will arrange a physical meeting with the teachers also.
Of course, ma'am. It's going to be a pleasure for me. Definitely.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Krishnama ma'am. We will definitely keep you updated.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Meena ma'am.
Ma'am, how can I fill my feedback?
So there is a form in the chat box, ma'am.
Chat box.
I'm
I can't
sharing again. I've just shared it again.
Okay. Please send me again.
I've sent it. I've clicked it again. मीना मैम दिखा आपको?
No, ma'am.
It's sent to everyone. Are rest of the teachers being able to see? मीना मैम मैंने आपको इंडिविजुअली भेज
Yes,
दिया
ma'am.
है.
Yes. Yes. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I would request if you just share one thing that you've taken back from this meeting, which you are going to really do in your class, or one theory or any one thought that has triggered you for more learning. Thank you so much, Geetika ma'am, Kamaljeet ma'am, Suman ma'am. Thanks a lot. I would request the group of the teachers to fill in their feedback form individually.
रोटी खत्म करो.
Thank you so much, Pallavi ma'am, Aditi ma'am, Ritika ma'am, Veerarani ma'am, Shivali ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sukinda ma'am. Thank you, Sulata Dada ma'am. Your video was on the whole time. Appreciated. Link is not opening, Kamaljeet ma'am. I'll just give it to you again.
दोबारा आ गया ये सबमिट हो तो गया.
Thank you, Jyoti Sharma ma'am. So, if we do not have any other questions, you want me to send the link again, Preet Kaur ma'am? Send it to you in your personal ID. प्रीत मैम आपको भेज दिया है अलग से in your chat. Thank you, Rajni ma'am. So thank you, teachers. If there are no more questions, we will close the session. Thank you for patiently being there and spending your evening with me for the benefit of children.
Yes.
It's not that you don't know the things. It's just that when we get together, we brainstorm, we kind of share our knowledge with each other, we get even better, right? So these workshops are just for reminding us that, you know, the little children learn in a very different pattern, in a very different way than what we think, and with little insights, we can make our classrooms really wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And you will receive the softwares, links, the PDFs of these books on your school mail ID. आपके जो सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं वो ई बुक्स की तरह ओपन होते हैं, आपको सिर्फ डाउनलोड करना है और वहां पर आपके पास में पूरा लेसन प्लान ओपन हो जाएगा और अब बस आप क्लिक करते जाओगे तो वो लेसन प्लान आपका चलता जाएगा. So it's very, very simple in that manner. But you still have problems, please do write to us. Don't struggle at your own end. Just one mail, one message will help us to reach out to you. Please, any problems that you face, just write to the mail ID. And I'm sharing the mail ID also. This is my mail ID. And of course, in your school mail ID, you will receive everything, right? So उसको डाउनलोड करके, पढ़ करके, देख करके तब आप क्लासरूम में जाइए. It will really help you, you know, to be prepared for your classrooms. Yeah. Thank you. See you then in the next session sometime very soon. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you so much.